everybody. Okay. Egbert, hello, welcome. You are the number one chatter right now. You're the only person to say hello. So, Egbert, welcome. I am here in my office. I've got a fresh cup of tea here. And I was wearing a sweater and I spilt my dinner all over it, like the fool that I am. And therefore, I am now just wearing a t-shirt. Actually, a very nice t-shirt, SIS Training. They actually sent me this for free. Very nice. Thanks, guys. So it's apparently inspired by James Bond in one of the James Bond films. Apparently, he wears a t-shirt very similar to this. Anyway, I am nothing like. I'm like Partridge entering the chatosphere. Yes. How are you? We could come back to Alan Partridge. Actually, I've watched the first couple of episodes of the latest series and wasn't wildly excited by it, but going to get back into it. Cosmin, welcome. Paul, welcome. Cosmin, are you on the treadmill this week? Or are you you were stationary last week, but are you sat still watching? Anyway, the purpose of these, for those of you who haven't joined us before, is talk about running, Q&A, ask anything you want. Where are you guys based? Let's start there. Let's start with Egbert. Is that your real name? First of all, are you an Alan Partridge fan? Second of all, thirdly, are you a runner? Couch time now. Did a jog in the morning. Nice. 5 weeks out from Valencia. Super exciting. So yeah, couch time is very good. I was just sat on the sofa watching Superstore with my wife and my daughter, and now I'm down here. Ooh, Cornwall. Very nice. I feel like I know where Liskeard is, but I don't know if I'm confusing that with like the lizard. Huge Partridge fan. Yeah, London, Kent, yes, runner, trying to get sub 3. Oh, amazing. How's that training going? How long have you been going for it? Brighton Marathon this year. Yeah, thanks so much. Near Plymouth. Oh, okay. Yeah. So what, like just the other side of the Tamar? Would that be right? River Tamar? So not far from me. I'm in Bridgewater. My parents live in Bantham or just near Bantham in Devon. So part of the world I know pretty well. Yeah, 139 kilometers I did last week. I think, well, incredibly frustratingly, I thought it was 140. I was trying to calculate on the fly when I was running, and I looked at my watch and it said 126.9. And for some reason, I thought I needed to do 12.1 to get me to 140. By the time you're kidding me. Ah, that sucks. I now wish I'd got back out and done the extra 0.9 miles. So I did 139.1 kilometers, which I think is the largest volume I've ever done. That's the highest mileage. Yeah. So, okay, Egbert, trying to do Brighton Marathon next year. How's that going? So, I mean, I'm presuming at the moment you're in your base training. What marathons have you run so far? And what's your kind of your base marathon time? What are you working off? And what are you doing differently now? Like, what have you improved on? Or yeah, fascinated to know. I can share any of my sort of limited wisdom. I got lucky, if I'm honest. I did my first marathon in 2:59. And funnily enough, I found the old YouTube live of me on the start line, and um, yeah, I mean, cutting a different figure back then, if I'm completely honest, and was pretty adamant that I was never, ever, ever going to do a marathon again. Um, okay, I saw Paul, you're doing Brighton and Valencia. Doing Valencia this year? Um, if so, could be thinking a shakeout run. I had said last week, I think, that I was going to join in with the Ben Parks shakeout run, but he's starting in the arse end of nowhere, and I'm staying pretty close to the start line, and I can't be bothered to hike out somewhere on early on Saturday morning. So I will probably do a shakeout run around the seafront, around the close to the start line. So yeah, I'll post some details. Egbert, very similar to you, actually only got into running a bit late. Very into the gyms, tried to balance that with running. How are you finding that? Um, I actually so ended on 340, can run a 129 half. Yes, hopefully not a million miles off. Yeah, so this is really interesting. I started running um, in I was 27, 45 now, so about 18 years ago. I'd been running on and off for all of those years. Some years I'd run loads, some years I ran like 100 miles over the entire year. I actually did. Yes, well, last week was I got a notification on Strava. It was my 208th consecutive week of training. So, you know, not all of it running because I had when I broke my foot last year, I had about 2 months out, but I was cycling on my turbo trainer. Um, but I had been running a year and a half seriously again when I did my sub 3. My first race that I did since coming back into running. So that was literally it would have well 4 years ago this weekend. I got a text message from a friend to say, "Hey, you haven't run pretty much all year. You've got to get back into it. I've signed you up for a half marathon." So he signed me up for the New Forest Trail half marathon. I ran that in 155, I think. Heart rate was like sky high. My easy miles were like 11-minute miles. I was super slow and I ran off and on through that following year and then started really running a lot more seriously at the big sort of the end of the summer. I'm getting lost with my timings, but 3.5 years ago. Um, and in the January when I started this channel, actually, that was when I signed up for the Manchester Marathon. Never planned on doing sub 3. Um, Before that, so probably 9, 10 years ago, I'd run a 125 half. So I always knew that I had the capacity to get fast. And in honesty, I mean, there was no strategy at Manchester. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just went hell for leather. Started super fast, regretted it towards the end, cramped in the last like 5 miles, hated it, absolutely hated it. So I'd be saying if you've got 129 under your belt, biggest thing, volume. I spent until probably, well, when I started training for London Marathon, which was a complete car crash, I was basically just doing almost exclusively easy miles. So I actually did 245 at Loch Ness last year off mainly easy miles. So I don't know what that means. I don't know whether I've got a good. Uh, I, I read somewhere that there is almost like an aerobic memory, whereby if you've done lots of running in the past or training, you're able to get there faster. I don't know if that's true. I started running though when I was 28, I ran my first kilometer in well, I ran actually to the end of my street and back, 2 kilometers. Took me 20 minutes. So I was running 10-minute kilometers when I started at 27. I was really overweight and I pretty much ran every day for 6 months. I was living in New Zealand at the time and um, signed up for a half marathon, which I did at the end of the October in that year. I started running at the beginning of July or June, I think it was. And I ran a 1:31 half marathon then. So I don't know. I used to um, be a musician, sort of, I suppose, professionally, I guess you could say, in that I've sung professionally. So my lung capacity has always been extraordinarily big. So I don't know. Maybe that helps me. Maybe I've got big lungs. Um, so yeah, I think I would say 6 months, get the right training in. I think you can definitely between now and London get sub 3. Sorry, between now and Brighton, you can get a sub 3. Egbert, I basically started at 31, first K at 31 and 36 now. Difficulties balancing work, gym, 3 kids. Yeah, and a dog. Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, interestingly, so I before the summer, I was in the gym 5 mornings a week. I do 45-minute gym sessions. It's kind of small group coaching at my gym, so I don't go in and freestyle. They are literally 45-minute sessions. The only way that I've been able to manage any of this from a timing perspective is my alarm goes off every day at 5:30. I fortunately, I suppose at this point, my children are 18, 16 and 15. So I'm not really needed in the morning anymore. So I'm surplus to needs. Do I get enough sleep? Yeah. Do you know what? I am in bed most nights by 9:30 at the latest. In this marathon training block, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend this because uh, yeah, I'm just going to say it. I may as well be completely transparent about it. I take melatonin before I go to bed. So I do a couple of work trips to the US each year, and I bring melatonin back with me, and it knocks me out when I get into bed. So during this training block now, particularly towards the end, I'm taking those when I get into bed, like 9:15. I read a couple of chapters, and then I'm like, out. Yeah, I do. At the moment, I do. I can sleep fine without it because I'm up so early and I'm training so much. But it just makes me sleep better. I track my sleep scores on my Garmin like religiously. My wife and I, the first thing that we ever talk about is um, our sleep scores. Sad, really. It's a strange one though. Yes, getting enough sleep is the key. I mean, I probably get 7.5 hours most nights in all in, and I at the weekend one night I will almost certainly get 11 hours. I just sleep like yeah, I just sleep loads. Melatonin every day, or just because of the jet lag when traveling to the US. Glad you're up front. You're a good dude, by the way. Thank you very much. Um, yeah. So sleeping is something like historically I've really struggled with. Again, I've talked about this sort of opening on the channel before. I've struggled massively with anxiety, depression, mental health, and when I go to sleep, uh, in the past, particularly when I'm not in a healthy position, like a healthy place, I could lie in bed for hours just trying to get to sleep. And really, I think the danger with melatonin is that your body can learn, or rather, I guess, get addicted to it, and um, you end up not sleeping very well. 10 milligrams, by the way, I think is the dosage that I take. Um, and probably in reality, I probably take it like 4 nights a week. I think I'm not taking it every night. I will take it to Valencia with me, absolutely, so that I can, and I'll probably even like double dose it just so that I absolutely sleep well. I just don't. Sleep is king. I think that is the reality. I think his name's Stephen Scullion, who's an Irish runner. I think he's like a 209 marathoner. He was saying that when he was training intensely, he was getting like his full night's sleep plus 2 hours a day of nap. The reality is for most of us who, like me, I've got a full-time job. Because of the way that my job works is sometimes I do have to work evenings because I do calls with clients in the US. Sometimes I have to do super early mornings. Uh, I've got 3 kids. My wife works full time. It's just hard. I think marathon training at this stage is really hard. I'm guessing if you're in your early 30s, your kids are probably a little bit younger than mine, or mid 30s. So I always used to refer to that season as the hurt locker, because it's like, yeah, your kids really need you. I've always been like pretty keen that my family comes first. Certainly, which is why I don't really do very many races. I Also, I don't enjoy them, but the reason I don't enjoy them is because it's such an effort to go and get somebody somewhere to get to a start line an hour before you were supposed to start, and all of that. Like, I find that a hassle. It becomes a weekend. So yeah, doing Valencia, amazing. Taking my wife, we can make a nice weekend out of it. I mean, it won't be a nice weekend. It will be a weekend of like, you know, anxiety and nerves, and you know, looking at every other runner and thinking, "Oh gosh, they are so much better than me." I mean, I totally one of the things that I really have to work on is this whole I can't think of the word now, but I suppose it's like comparison. I look at every runner, you know, wherever I go, I see somebody in a bit of running gear, and I think, oh my goodness, they look like the real deal, the serious real deal. I remember thinking it at Loch Ness. Um, such like imposter syndrome. That's what I was thinking of, imposter syndrome. I remember looking around thinking, oh my goodness, I've I was aiming for 2:55. I remember thinking, man, everybody here is faster than me. Like, I am so out of place. I finished 20th. So it's one of those things of like, and I'm trying to give less shit about what everybody else looks like. But you see someone turn up, they've got, short shorts, Alpha Flies on, or the Adidas equivalent, and you think, yeah, they're clearly out to run a 2:02 marathon. So yeah. Um, uh, what's your opinions on tapering and for a first marathon, Valencia? So Paul, this is your first marathon. Um, Tapering, I don't think I've got down to a T at all. I'll be 100% honest about that. I, funnily enough, have my Ben Parks training plan on my computer, on my desktop, and I've not really used it at all. But I was actually thinking on my run this morning that I think I probably will at least follow his recommendation on kind of like the volume in terms of what to do over those last couple of weeks. The reality is the training that I'm doing now isn't going to go away by the time the marathon comes. So probably in reality, you could like taper a crazy amount and it wouldn't affect your fitness. Um, I'm going to certainly ease off 3 weeks from now. So that's 2 weeks away. Um, some people say like drop 10%. Some people say drop a lot less. a lot more. I think the key is maintain the intensity of the speed workouts. So um, do your speed sessions, but at at the paces that you would normally do, just make them way smaller. So I'm planning tomorrow morning, for example. I mean, right now I'm like properly in peak. I'm planning on doing 30 lots of 400 meters, which will be exhausting. I'll probably have a double run day tomorrow because this week is looking like a bit of a nightmare from a scheduling perspective because I've got some work visits and well, I've got a corporate golf day that I've got to go to. I haven't got to go to. I'm looking forward to going, but anyway, that's messing with the marathon training. Um, but I wouldn't even consider doing that on the last couple of weeks of the training block. I think the last time I it's sort of in prep for London and Loch Ness, I think a few days before, probably like the Tuesday or the Wednesday before, I did an easy run with like 3 blocks of 5 minutes at target marathon pace. Um, then a couple of strides on an easy run a couple of days out. But at that point, you're not building any fitness. That's the key. The last couple of weeks, you're not building anything that's going to make any difference on race day. So basically, don't blow it. Don't risk injuring yourself. Don't make yourself too tired. Carb loading in those final few days, don't think I've ever got that right. I think in um I can't remember if I've ever talked about this on the channel, but I think in reality, before London, in the last couple of days before it, I knew that I was heavier than I wanted to be. And psychologically, I was just like, oh, I should probably not carb load too much because I don't want to make any difference. Again, wouldn't have made the slightest bit of difference if I'd had 3 days of like really solid, really good carb loading. And what that meant on race day was, well, the bolt screwed everything up. So who knows what would have happened. But yeah, just getting the good fuel over the next few weeks. Very likely, very unlikely past a week and a half time to make any significant differences. But in the rest and the recovery is where all of that kind of just solidifies. I'm excited. Um, Paul, what time are you aiming for? Okay. Whilst you're thinking about that, any other questions? Any other thoughts? Any other comments? What has 4 hours? Yeah, carb loading is key actually for you, making sure that you've got enough fuel on the day. I presume in your long runs you've been practicing your fueling strategies. I think one of the things that often trips people up and has tripped me up before is in those training runs really not practicing how much or how often you should take your energy gels. Um, yeah, you don't want to code brown, is all I'm saying. I don't need to say much more than that. Um, my plan is to be taking one every 25 minutes, a gel. I'm going to be using the Science and Sport Beta gels, which have got 40 grams of carbs. So that basically gives me around 100 grams of carbs per hour of the race. Um, all of our tolerances in terms of what we need are different. It is 100% a guessing game. Unless you and I saw that I can't remember his name, not Ben Parks, Ben Felton. He did a kind of like a whole test, like with oxygen mask, where you can actually work out how much glycogen your body burns during exercise so that you know exactly how much you need. If you don't want to spend the £300, which I don't on that test, you just have to guess. Um, so yeah, it is a bit of trial and error. I was thinking I might do a video actually about All of the things that I would do if I had loads of money. Sweat test would be one, so I could work out exactly how much sodium, how much electrolytes I need. Yes, glad you're thinking about that. Classic mistake, I would say, for um, certainly was for me, first marathon, was taking on the water that they give you and not replacing the electrolytes, and eventually you just get to the point where it's like your body's flushed out. So taking the salt tablets, um, I will probably buy a pack of those. I don't know if it's like the salt stick ones. I used those before. My only problem with them is that I find that I can't open the packet because my I sweat so badly that I can't open the packet. So I almost need to kind of come up with a solution whereby I can carry the salt tablets and not worry about just getting like sweaty chops all over the packaging. Same with energy gels. It's it's actually genuinely a bit of a nightmare. Um, at the moment, training in the cold as well, it's like you lose all dexterity in your fingers. So yeah, cold and sweaty, can't move my fingers, can't feel anything. So I'm having to like rip them off with my teeth. Fortunately, I do have fairly sharp gnashes, so I do seem to be succeeding to some extent. I know that you can buy cover it with tinfoil. I was in what, like literally put the tablets in tinfoil. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I mean, I'd Yeah, I'd possibly look like a heroin addict, pulling out a little thing of tinfoil, but hopefully everyone would know what was going on. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I'll try that this weekend. Give that one a go. Do you have a next marathon lined up after? Um, What have we got? We've got Valencia, we've got Brighton, and we've got Valencia. Actually, we've got a couple of Valencias. Anything else? We haven't got Adam here this evening. Adam was in on the chat last week. He was looking forward to coming back this week to talk about hills. He obviously did not want to come and talk about hills. Um, yeah. What are your long runs looking like? Are you practicing your marathon pace? Do let me know. Again, it's always interesting to see what everybody else does. As you will have seen in my weekly videos, I have no idea what I'm doing. I literally just kind of think, oh, what would be fun? I have no idea if there's science. It's all instinct at this point. I've read a ton of different books over the last year on running, covering everything from 80/20 training method, Phil Maffetone, through to like full on books about how to run faster 5Ks. Um, yeah, last time you're not sure of hills because of injury risk, but this week I noticed you got in love with them. Yeah, y- I just I forgot how much I enjoy running up hills. I don't love running down hills. I think they do feel like a risk. Um, I blow like the wind. I mean, like one day I can love something, the next day I can hate it. Yeah, 30K at 5:30, that's perfect. Absolutely nailing it. What is It's not on my board. It's not on my board. 5:30, 5:10, 4. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what that. I don't know what that translates to. Is that your marathon pace for 4 hours? I proudly said yesterday in my video that um, doing uh, what do you call it? Tracking everything in kilometers is just so much easier. But I suppose it's only easier if you're working on the ones that you have kind of locked in your mind of the paces. Um, oh yeah, brilliant. 3:45 pace. Yeah, okay. So 3 yeah, okay. Yeah, brilliant. If you're getting 30 kilometers, it sounds like you're gonna absolutely smash your 4 hours. Um, I think the last 12 kilometers are, yeah, without doubt, they're the hardest, but they don't have to be. I think if you've fueled correctly, if you've trained correctly, and you've got the electrolyte situation sorted, there is no reason why you should ever hit the wall. Um, I think lots of people do hit the wall if they're unprepared, but yeah, is that going to be the? You did the same third, yeah, brilliant. Um, I think, yeah, getting a 30-kilometer run at this point is absolutely perfect. Are they going to be the longest that you do? Are you going to stretch out to 32, 33? I don't think you need to. So, in honesty, I think the longest, I think you can get away with like 18 miles. I don't know what that is in kilometers. I'm guessing that is around 30 kilometers. No, I think that's less than, I think that's more than 30 kilometers. Less than 30. Oh, I don't know. I'm getting confused. Getting very, very confused. Um, yeah, 36, 30K. Yeah, 107. 175. Jeepers creepers. I wow. I'd love to get up to 175. Um, I just can't. I honestly, I can't figure out how I would get there. Even this week. So this week, I really want to do 145. Um, and I guess the key is the double runs. Be really interesting. I need to go. I need to stalk you a little bit more, Cosmin, on. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll have a look at your Strava and see what you're doing. Yeah, double easy day. So I did I did one double day last week, but I did it on the day that I did my workout. So I've been doing the workouts on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and then my long run on a Saturday, which also involves a workout, um, which is way more workouts than I've probably done in my entire running life over this marathon block. I've never really ever done workouts, so this is like a whole new thing for me. Um, Probably I could. I think there would probably be wisdom in dropping back a workout in the week to get those extra miles in, but at this point, I'm not going to change it. Because I mean, my longer runs are getting a lot quicker. So from a time perspective, they're getting easier to manage. You just take it easy, test what works. Yeah, exactly. I think once I come out of the marathon training block, I'm gonna see how far I can push um the volume. I mean, it's fascinating when you look at like the elite runners, how much they do. Particularly interested in um ran to Japan. I don't know what his actual name is. I just see him as ran to Japan, but he did 280 kilometers last week. Ginger lad. Um, well, no, maybe. Look, hey, at the end of the day, I think we all learn off each other. I think that's very much the spirit of the channel. I don't definitely, at least I don't know. Every once in a while, I think, gosh, I wonder if I fluked it at Loch Ness with the 245. We'll find out in 5 weeks. One of the things I am doing weekly is chucking all of my data into AI and getting it to act as a coach and tell me where I'm at. And it seems to be fairly confident that I am in the 240 range, which is pretty encouraging because last time it definitely wasn't giving me those. At London, it was definitely saying that I was going to struggle. So, I think the thing with the running community at large is, with the exception of the actual experts, none of us are experts. I am part of this sub 3 hour Facebook group on Facebook, obviously. And there are people in there that are chasing sub 3 hour marathons, and there are people in there that have got sub 3 hour marathons. It is fascinating how many people like to act as the authority on pace and times and workouts and give their unfettered advice as to whether people are or are not going to succeed at their marathon. And look, I always come back to Paula Radcliffe, who had the best coaches. Oh, oh, there we go. Don't know what happened there. Paula Radcliffe had the best coaches, a 4-year build up for the Olympics. It was hers. She was the greatest runner of her time, and yet she couldn't win the Olympic gold. It Stuff can go wrong. I think we can all learn off each other. I'm not sure what Paula Radcliffe's got to do with that, but anyway, who else have we got? A few people kind of like ducking in and out, obviously listening but not talking. Who else have we got in here? I'm enjoying this chat. Probably going to go until about 1/4 past. And then I will go and have my 19th cup of tea of the day, decaf, obviously. I don't have any caffeinated tea after about 2 or 3 o'clock. Again, helps with the sleep. The other thing I take for sleep as well, worth whilst we're talking about sleep, whilst we're back to sleep, I take ZMA supplement, which is zinc and magnesium. I see adverts all the time for Pure Sport magnesium supplements that'd be like £30 a pop. I buy like £6 supplements on Amazon. It's works fine. And I also take ashwagandha, which sounds illegal, but it's completely legal. Have crazy dreams with it as well. It really does it puts you into a really, really good sleep. So I do invest in my sleep, if I'm honest, which I think is, a part of the equation of becoming a better runner. Yeah. Hey, Mark. Just listening in while sort of working, having our modem being. We had our modem changed today as well. Love your comments and honesty as always. I presume you are back in Peru. If so, you are probably almost certainly the furthest, most remotest listener. So yeah, nice to have you here. Yeah, love you are indeed. You'll have to let me know next time you're in England so that we can actually meet up. Yeah, my modem got changed today, and yeah, it's not really a story for an Instagram, Facebook live. Oh my goodness, I'm really tired. YouTube live, Monday Night Live. Yes. Hey, I'm new here, loving your videos. David, welcome. I'm so pleased to hear that. If you haven't gone back through the backstory of PKS Runs, I started this channel 3 years ago, almost, because I wanted to be held accountable for not ever giving up running again, because I've given it up loads of times. And yeah, this is kind of like the continuation of it. I'm just sort of finding different ways to keep it interesting for people. I'm desperately trying to get to the point where YouTube actually pays me some money. I know they show they show adverts, but I don't get anything for it. So I'm hoping that one day I'll have enough subscribers and enough viewers that I'll get like £5 a month from YouTube, and then I can buy myself half a pair of running shoes every year or something like that. It's actually quite exciting. I need to buy some new running shoes. My running shoes, I've been running in them since the summer. Got 2 pairs of New Balance Rebels. I've been wearing them alternating days, and they are absolutely falling apart because I've been doing like minimum 100Ks in per week. So on target for my highest mileage year ever. which is super exciting. I did notice actually that there is a screen share option on here. So maybe one year I'll actually go 1 year. Jeepers creepers. One Monday. I do have advice on shoes. I will come back to you in a minute on that. Yeah, maybe 1 week. 1 week I will go through the my training log in Strava because it is actually incredible how little mileage I have done some years. Like extraordinary. What shoes do I wear? So, okay, here's my advice on shoes. And this might be controversial, and I've often wondered about doing a little video about this. In that, I spent quite a lot of time like fastidiously watching shoe reviews. I really like Ed Budd. I like Kafuzi. I like Ben Parks. And I would like wait anxiously to see what they say about a certain shoe, etc. And the reality is, our feet are all really different. We've got loads of bones, we've got loads of muscles and tendons, and every shoe will work well on one person and not on another. So I had never run in a New Balance until I was on a work trip in Australia, of all places, met an incredible guy called Buzz, who you will, if you go back far enough in the channel where I talk about the Sydney half marathon, you will meet Buzz because he basically, through social media, just reached out to me and said, "Hey, look, I know you're going to this race. Why don't I take you?" Anyway, he took me to a New Balance store and I tried on a pair of Rebels, and they were the most comfortable shoe that I had ever put on my feet, with the exception of the Alpha Fly. But I'm not wearing an Alpha Fly every day. I am not made of money. So I brought those home with me from Australia. I ran in them. I got all sorts of calf pains and Achilles pains because they're a slightly lower drop. And ran on and off in them over the last kind of, well, in the kind of the build up to London, but I was also training in various different pairs of Nike shoes and swapping everything around. Over the summer, I really, really consciously worked on my running technique. I read, rather not listened to. I read The Lost Art of Running by Shane Benzie. He talks very much about engaging your fascia system rather than your sort of muscular system when you run. And I went back to the New Balance, and I have absolutely loved them ever since. So the thing with shoes is they're expensive, and so you always have to take a bit of a gamble. There are some brands that allow you to return them. So if you buy them from Asics, for example, I think you can try them for like up to 3 months and then send them back, which I think is absolutely amazing. I guess there must be some sort of fair use policy. I feel incredibly fortunate. I got lucky in that I love running in my Rebels. I would love to run in the 1080s. They look super comfortable. But in all honesty, I tried them on at the same time as I tried on the Rebels, and I found the toe box too narrow. So unless that's changed in the last year and a half, I'll just stick with those. I'll stick with Alpha Fly for race day because I know that it works. It's comfortable, like really comfortable for my feet. I ran in, I think I talked about this last week. I run in the Saucony Endorphin Elites in my first marathon. I ended up with Morton's New Roma, which is like nerve damage in my toe, and was in agony for months. I just ran through it because I'm an idiot. So yeah, so those are those are the shoes that I'm wearing every day. So annoyingly, because I got them at the same time, I've got two pairs that I rotate, one every other day, because I wash them by hand at the end of every run, which is something that I picked up from running with the Kenyans at the book, not because I've spent time running with Kenyans. but they all really religiously clean their shoes. And actually, it's like a really nice. Um, it's almost like a spiritual discipline in a way. I feel like for me, it's like super cathartic. I get to like wash off all of the crap that run has had. If it's a good run, I'm just washing them because I want them to be clean again. But if I've had a bad run, it's like symbolic of saying, okay, that was a tough run. Um, uh, I can move on from there. Favorite YouTubers? Do you know what? It's going to sound really bad, but I don't actually consume a massive amount of social media, which feels I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite in some ways. I always enjoy Ben Parks. I think he's a really nice, solid guy. A lot taller in person. I met him very briefly at the London Marathon last year. He was extraordinarily tall. I like uh, who do I like? I tell you what, I'm going to open my YouTube channel up and I'll have a look at my subscriptions. Um, I love MKBHD, not a running YouTuber. He's more of a kind of a tech guy. He is absolutely awesome. Marquez Brownlee is his name. Let's have a look. Who else am I subscribed to here? DC Rainmaker. Saw you the other morning on the way to work. You looked fast. Oh, thanks, Justin. Um, I guess I might have been fast. If you saw me on the Cannington Straight on Thursday morning, I was doing intervals and I was running if you caught me at the last ones where I was doing 1 minute repeats, I was doing them at just over, yeah, okay. So I was doing them at like just a whisper over 3 minutes, at 3 minutes per kilometer. So hopefully was fast. uh, Absolute carnage. DC Rainmaker for tech gear. He's absolutely amazing. He's a cyclist, runner. Who else do I follow? I watch a lot of Brian Taylor Cohen. He's not a runner. He's like a super kind of anti-Trump, democratic. I guess they would call him like the left media. He's super cool. Who else? Ran to Japan, absolutely brilliant. Again, I don't know his name actually. Chase the Summit. Watch him. Who else do we watch? Colin Furs, he likes making stuff. He's cool. Yeah, I'd certainly Jake Barraclough. That's it. Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, he really is incredible. Um, yeah, he's working towards doing a 300 kilometer week, which is nuts. He's doing 40 kilometers a day. It's just, yeah, insane. Absolutely insane. Who else have I got on here? Got the running channel. It's funny, they don't really pop up in my feed all of that much. I'm also into golf. So Rick Shields is in there. Good. Yeah, all sorts. In fact, okay. Yes, Ben is running. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Ben is running is great. The Welsh runner is good. I like the Welsh runner actually. I've watched a few of his videos. I love his kind of like pretty scientific approach to stuff. I don't ever see you do any local events. I'll come back to that, Justin. I will come back to that. Yeah, I like his approach. He did something about like the Morton bicarb system and did like a really, really thorough review looking at his performance. I like that. Like I love data. So he's really good and also a legit good runner. Like I say I'm an averagely good runner. Um, he's like a legit proper good runner. Yeah, local events. So backstory for you, Justin, is I am quite an introvert. I struggle with anxiety. I don't like crowds. I don't really like people. I don't really like having to talk to people. And therefore, one of the reasons that I run is to be alone, um, quite honestly. So the idea of it's why I've never joined a running club. The idea of joining a running club honestly just makes me want to weep. Um, Park run, I have done, I think maybe 5 times in total ever, largely because uh, I just can't be bothered, basically, because it means that I've got to stand around, I've got to have a briefing to be told where I've got to run, and I've got to thank Jenny for doing 100 park runs today. She's got a new T-shirt. I don't care. I'm really, really. I used to be a church pastor, so here's a bit of backstory for you. Um, I'm super confident. I used to be a church pastor. I had an emotional breakdown. I've had 2 emotional breakdowns. Funny enough, I recorded a little reel about this today. I've had 2 emotional breakdowns, where I have literally been at the point where I just don't feel like I can carry on. And as a result of that, part of those breakdowns was that I was super kind of extrovert. Yes, love Philly Bowden. Don't love that she's injured, but love the fact that she is potentially coming back. Um, yeah, I for years and years and years, I gave everything to everybody else of myself. So looking after people, helping people, taking on board all of that, everybody's problems, and I got to a point where I just crashed, completely crashed, and I'm now I don't know. I hope someday I will not walk into a crowd of people and go, "Oh my goodness, I struggle." But I've always been shy. Like I've never enjoyed meeting people. I've always found it hard. If I go to a party, I will generally sit in a corner, whether I'm in a good place or in a bad place. Hope that there'll be someone else there that's into running and I can just sort of geek out about running with them. Um, so yeah, I will. Yeah, I know because there's a 10K happening next year, and I was like, oh, do I could do it. I reckon I could probably win it if I'm honest. Yeah, you never come across on social media like that. So social media is look, it's so here's the bolt. That's the one. Yeah. So social media. So one of the things I think I said in a video a couple of years ago, on social media, I think it was on my Instagram channel. PKS Runs has almost I kind of joke about it being it's my alter ego, but it's the person that I struggle to be in the real world. So the confident, like super outgoing, a bit ridiculous, a bit stupid. I struggle to be that person in real life. I actually really enjoy like this sort of interaction with people. I really enjoy as a in the professional world, I have to go to quite a lot of networking events and they terrify me. They really do. Once I get one-on-one with someone, I'm really good. I really enjoy it. Um, if I was to take my guitar off the wall or I've got a piano in front of me, if I was to have those, I would, happily sing, I would happily play. I don't know, maybe it's like a confidence thing, things that I'm good at. Um, Talking to people, genuinely, I'm just not very good at. I self-diagnosed autistic. Um, I always say the wrong things. So I'm the guy at the social gathering who makes the ridiculous statement and everybody goes, "Oh, I can't believe you just said that." And then I want the ground to swallow me up. It's it happens way too often. And half the time, I'm pretty sure I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. I just don't have the off switch to realize that there's any sort of appropriateness to what I share, which is why I share so much on social media. I'm just like, I don't care really. I'm just going to give you full warts and all. Um, so yeah, um, the filter. Yeah, I don't have a filter. I honestly, I just don't have a filter. Um, Sometimes that plays very well for me. Sometimes it plays terribly. Um, I moved my chat there. What does it say? Yeah, just don't care what other people. Yeah, that's right. I think you have to kind of. I think you get to a point. I mean, I'm 45. I'm halfway through my life. I think you just have to kind of get to a point where it's like you just got to be who you are. Um, so yeah, my family, as in my sort of sisters and my parents, often kind of joke that they don't tell me stuff because I I don't have a great deal of empathy. I can understand why people feel sad about stuff. I just don't personally feel sad about it myself. So yeah, it's a weird um, it's it's a weird place to be, but I actually think it helps with the running because I think I can really compartmentalize like what I'm feeling at any given moment. And the London Marathon was a great example of just like it was awful. I mean, I was thinking about this morning, just how horrible the London Marathon was. But it was just, my only thought was, well, I started it, so I'm going to finish it. And I just sort of put that in a box, move on, keep on running. There's a bolt in my shoe. I'm just going to keep on going and we'll deal with that in the end. I said that I was going to finish about 10 minutes ago. I'm still yabbering away here. Um, yeah, I think so. I think so. Definitely. We should have a good catch up, Mark. We definitely should. There's I know there's a lot of things that I've just said that you will probably want to unpack. But we should definitely have a chat sometime. Um, yeah, I hope you have all enjoyed this. Do come again next week. I'm hoping that we can kind of. I really want. I've been thinking about this. I really want to. One of the things, a common thread in my life, despite the what I've said about like kind of like my dis or my struggle around people, one of the things that I have consistently been really good at is building and creating communities, like IRL communities in real life. That was part of what I did when I was working in the church. And I do genuinely love bringing people together and connecting on this stuff. So, let's meet again next Monday. I've still got my cup of tea, which is absolutely stone cold. I made it about 7:15. So that makes it about an hour and 10 minutes old. Next week, maybe I'll bring my flask. Um, do come and find me on Strava if you haven't already. Just send me a message or something so that I can follow you back. Because I'm terrible at, again, I don't massively engage. I don't scroll Instagram. I don't massively scroll Strava. I just get done what I need to get done. And yeah, we'll leave it there. I'll down the rest of this and that's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Genuinely, I really enjoy this. Great to chat. Um, maybe I'm doing this through YouTube, but I'd like to try and find another platform that I can stream this to YouTube so that I can get other people in with me. I'd love to chat with Ellie, who's a friend of mine from Las Vegas, who is she competes for GB as a masters athlete. She's insane. I would, yeah, I'd love to have other people to bounce off in this. So we will find a way. And that is the 1 hour marker. So we've definitely got to turn on. My mum always says, never make your hosts twice glad. Glad to see you come and glad to see you go. I don't want you guys to think that you're glad to see me go. So, guys, thank you so much. We will reconvene next week. Have a great week. Keep on running.